The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, also known as Samuel Longhorn Clemens. Plot summary. The story introduces Tom Sawyer, a mischievous but clever boy, living with his Aunt Polly. We see his playful adventures, school life, and early conflicts that showcase his spirited nature and relationships with Sid, Becky, and friends. Tom's adventures intensify as he cleverly whitewashes a fence, befriends Huckleberry Finn, and becomes entangled in witnessing a graveyard murder involving Injun Joe. The tension rises with Muff Potter's wrongful accusation and Tom's internal struggle with keeping their secret. Tom bravely testifies at the trial, exposing Injun Joe as the real murderer. This act of courage turns Tom into a local hero, but also puts him and Huckleberry in danger from Injun Joe's revenge. The boys embark on treasure hunts, pirate adventures on an island, and survive being lost in McDougal's cave. They uncover hidden treasures, face emotional and physical challenges, and renew friendships and rivalries. Tom and Huckleberry's discovery of the treasure brings them wealth and recognition. Despite Huckleberry's struggle with civilization and eventual return, Tom secures a promising future through support from influential townsfolk, symbolizing maturation and societal acceptance. Chapter 1. In a lively scene, Aunt Polly calls out for Tom, who is nowhere to be found. She searches around, eventually catching Tom after he slyly hides in a closet where he's been caught indulging in a jam despite strict warnings. Aunt Polly wrestles with her conflicting feelings. She knows Tom is mischievous and often tests her patience. Yet she also feels a strong affection for him as her late sister's child. Though she is determined to discipline him, she struggles to find the balance between kindness and firmness. Tom manages to skip school one afternoon and enjoys his time, returning just in time to help Jim, their small helper, with woodwork. Meanwhile, Tom's younger half-brother Sid dutifully finishes his chores without complaint or mischief. During supper, Aunt Polly tries to outsmart Tom by questioning him cleverly, aiming to catch him in a lie about whether he went swimming. But Tom cleverly evades her traps. Tom then delights in a new whistling trick he learned and ventures out into the village, where he meets a well-dressed new boy. Their encounter quickly turns into a playful but tense challenge of bravado, with neither willing to back down. They spar physically and verbally until Tom finally bests the newcomer in a tussle. However, the other boy retaliates by throwing a stone at Tom's back and running away. Tom pursues him to find where he lives and dares him to come out and fight, but the boy stays hidden. Returning home late and dirty, Tom faces his aunt's disappointment. His appearance and the state of his clothes harden her resolve to punish him by turning his Saturday holiday into a day of labor. Chapter 2. On a bright Saturday morning, Tom Sawyer faces the daunting task of whitewashing a long fence. Initially disheartened, he feels the chore is a burden compared to the lively freedom enjoyed by other boys. When Jim arrives with water from the whitewash, Tom persuades him to fetch the water while Tom tackles the painting work, cleverly managing to avoid the task himself. Tom's spirits are lifted temporarily by the thought of the fun the other boys are having, but he is worried about being mocked for having to work. After assessing his new possessions, he realizes he does not have enough to buy his way out of the chore. Then, inspired by a brilliant idea, he He starts whitewashing the fence with renewed purpose. Ben Rogers, a boy full of energy and play, arrives pretending to be a steamboat, and teasing Tom about working. Tom feigns interest in his work, and when Ben asks to try whitewashing, Tom initially refuses, but finally consents, pretending the fence requires special care. One by one, the other boys come by and beg for a chance to whitewash the fence, and Tom cleverly trades his participation for small treasures and favors. As the day progresses, Tom's wealth of treasures grows immensely, while the fence gets thoroughly painted. He experiences the satisfaction of this cunning strategy and a new understanding of human nature. People desire things more when they are difficult to obtain. Chapter 3. Tom returns to Aunt Polly, presenting himself boldly, despite her expecting him to be gone. He claims he has finished whitewashing the fence, which Aunt Polly skeptically checks, only to find the entire fence remarkably well painted. Astonished, she acknowledges Tom's ability to work when he chooses, and rewards him with an apple and a moral lecture about earning treats through virtuous effort. Tom then cleverly steals a doughnut and escapes outside. Outside, Tom playfully pelts his half-brother Sid with clods before fleeing over a fence. He goes on to lead a military-style game with Joe Harper, directing armies from a distance to a hard-fought victory. Passing by Jeff Thatcher's house, Tom spots a new girl who captivates him instantly, causing him to forget a previous affection, Amy Lawrence. He tries to impress this girl with boyish antics, but she soon disappears, leaving him longing, yet hopeful, when she tosses him a pansy. At home, Tom's mischievous nature continues. He gets scolded for trying to steal a sugar, but remains unbothered, especially when Sid accidentally breaks a sugar bowl, and Tom cleverly shifts blame to him. His aunt suspects Tom has been up to more mischief, but stays silent out of conflicted feelings. Tom sulks dramatically, imagining how his aunt secretly longs to forgive him. He seeks solitude by a river, brooding with his wilted pansy, fantasizing about her pity and the drama of a tragic end. But his romantic reverie abruptly ended when a servant drenches him with water from above, forcing him to jump up and flee, signaling ongoing boyish battles with Sid. Finally, Tom goes to bed without saying his prayers, much to Sid's silent amusement and caution. Chapter 4. The sun rises on a peaceful village where Aunt Polly begins the day with a solemn family worship filled with scriptural lessons. Tom struggles to memorize verses from the Sermon on the Mount. Distracted yet motivated by Mary's promise of a reward, his hard work pays off, earning him a prized barlow knife, though it's more for show than use. Tom is prepared for Sunday school by Mary, who insists on cleanliness and proper attire, much to Tom's discomfort. At Sunday school, the children trade tickets, earned through scripture recitation for prizes, including Bibles, a prestigious and rare reward. The superintendent, Mr. Walters, delivers a familiar but earnest speech, while the children's antics bring lively chaos. A notable event unfolds with the arrival of esteemed visitors, including Judge Thatcher, who impresses the children with his grandeur. Amidst this, Tom unexpectedly claims a Bible prize, surprising everyone and stirring envy among his peers who unknowingly contributed to his ticket collection. Amy Lawrence's pride turns to jealousy as she notices Tom's odd behavior, When introduced to the judge, Tom is tongue-tied and uncertain, failing to answer simple biblical questions, which gently highlights his true understanding beneath his achievements. Chapter 5. The congregation gathers for morning sermon, including notable townsfolk and the ever-perfect Willie Mufferson, who is envied by the boys like Tom. The minister, known for his dramatic hymn readings and lengthy announcement, offers a detailed prayer covering everything from local to international concerns. Tom endures the prayer restlessly, distracted by a fly, until he captures it once the prayer ends. The sermon begins with fiery themes about salvation, which causes many to nod off, though Tom briefly imagines the grandeur of being the child leading peaceful animals at the millennium. His attention then shifts to a beetle he treasures, which becomes the center of amusement as a poodle batters it around, causing laughter among the congregation. The sermon loses all seriousness after this, ending with a benediction and leaving Tom amused but slightly upset about the dog taking his beetle away. Chapter 6. Monday morning brings misery for Tom as school resumes. He tries to feign illness to avoid it. After some theatrical groans and a fabricated sword toe, Aunt Polly discovers his scheme and pulls out his loose tooth. Tom's missing tooth becomes a source of pride among his peers, especially with his new talent for spitting. Tom meets Huckleberry Finn, the town's free-spirited outcast, who fascinates him despite warnings. They trade curiosities and share folklore about curing warts with spunk water and using a dead cat to ward off witches. At school, Tom is punished for talking to Huckleberry. He ends up sitting with the girls and starts exchanging friendly gestures with Becky Thatcher, who becomes the object of his affection. Their innocent interactions bring Tom joy despite the strict school environment. Tom struggles with his studies, causing chaos in classes, and eventually losing his long-held Pooter medal, signaling a rough week ahead. Chapter 7. Tom finds school unbearably dull and entertains himself with a tick on his desk, engaging his friend Joe Harper in a playful game. When school breaks for recess, Tom arranges a secret meeting with Becky Thatcher. They bond over drawing on a slate, sharing chewing gum, and talking about love and engagements. Tom confesses his affection for Becky, who shyly reciprocates, leading to a promise of eternal love and engagement. However, when Becky suspects Tom's prior affection for Amy Lawrence, she becomes upset and withdraws. Despite Tom's attempts to comfort her, she remains hurt, and Tom leaves feeling remorseful. Becky is left alone, embarrassed and heartbroken, while the school day continues with her hidden sorrow. Chapter 8. Tom escapes the dullness of school by indulging in imaginative plays in the woods. He contemplates running away to become a pirate or soldier, his mind filled with grand dreams of adventure and glory. He discovers an old treasure spot where a marble was hidden, but his superstition about marbles gathering there fails, which he attributes to witchcraft. Abandoning his doubts, Tom prepares for play with his old friend Joe Harper, donning makeshift costumes and weapons as they enact Robin Hood adventures. Their spirited sword fights and role-playing bring joy and escape from reality, though they lament the loss of such wild freedom in modern civilization. Chapter 9. At night, Tom and Huckleberry sneak out to a graveyard, carrying a dead cat. Enveloped by the eerie silence and superstition of the place, They hide as three men arrive: Muff Potter, Injun Joe, and Dr. Robinson, who begin to open a grave. Tension rises as the men reveal a dark past, leading to a violent struggle where Injun Joe fatally stabs the doctor during a confrontation. After the attack, Injun Joe manipulates the drunken Potter into believing he committed the murder, vowing to keep his silence. The boys witness this horrifying scene and flee, deeply shaken. Chapter 10. Tom and Huckleberry, fleeing in terror after witnessing the graveyard murder, rush to safety of an old tannery. They swear a solemn blood oath to keep silent about what they saw, fearing Injun Joe's wrath. Despite their vow, their anxiety and guilt weigh heavily on them. While hiding, they narrowly avoid detection by Muff Potter, who is unaware of the night's events. Tom returns home quietly, but senses the family's somber mood and his aunt's sorrow, realizing the consequences of his actions. At school, Tom faces punishment for playing hooky but is more preoccupied with his inner turmoil. Discovering his lost brass Andrew knob reignites his feelings of loss and regret, deepening his emotional struggle. Chapter 11. News spreads quickly of the murder and Muff Potter's suspected involvement after a knife belonging to him is found nearby. Despite his pleas of innocence, Potter is arrested, and the town prepares for his capture and trial. Tom and Huckleberry watch the proceedings with fear, especially as Injun Joe remains calm and unchallenged, deepening their dread. Potter's sorrow and Injun Joe's cold lies further haunt Tom, whose guilty conscience disrupts his sleep and daily life. Tom secretly brings small comforts to Potter in jail, while the town debates punishing Injun Joe for grave robbing, but fears his reputation. The legal process is complicated, with a focus on the fight and murder, leaving the grave robbery unaddressed for the time being. Chapter 12. Tom sinks into melancholy due to Becky's illness, losing interest in his usual adventures. Aunt Polly tries various health remedies, including water treatments and patent medicines, but nothing improves Tom's spirits. He cleverly feigns enthusiasm for painkiller, often using it for mischief, including dosing the family cat, which reacts wildly. Despite his ailments, Tom eagerly watches for Becky and tries to catch her attention at school through antics and showmanship. However, Becky remains indifferent, leaving Tom heartbroken and misunderstood. Chapter 13. Tom, Joe Harper, and Huckleberry Finn, feeling rejected and misunderstood, decide to run away and become pirates on a remote island. They adopt grandiose pirate personas, complete with titles and dramatic rituals. After stealing provisions, they set off on a raft, imagining a life of freedom and adventure away from society. They enjoy the wilderness, campfire, and camaraderie, reveling in their newfound independence. However, conscience soon visits, making them grapple with the morality of their actions, especially theft. Chapter 14. Tom wakes to the peaceful dawn on the island, marveling at nature's awakening and feeling a sense of calm. The boys enjoy a refreshing swim, a hearty breakfast of freshly caught fish and bacon, and explore the island, which is about 3 miles long and a quarter-mile wide. Despite the wild beauty, a creeping homesickness begins to unsettle them. Their attention is caught by distant sounds of the arrival of a steam ferry and boats near the village. Tom guesses someone must have drowned, and the boys feel their absence is being mourned, which fills them with pride. As night falls, they revel in the attention they believe they have garnered. In quiet moments, thoughts of home and loved ones creep in, causing unease, but Tom and Huckleberry dismiss these feelings to avoid seeming weak. Tom secretly prepares notes and small tokens to send home, showing his conflicting feelings between adventure and connection. Chapter 15. Tom returns secretly to his aunt's house, overhearing her and others mourning him as if he were lost or dead, which deeply moves him. Despite his grief, he suppresses the urge to reveal himself, touched by their sorrow and love. The family discusses their fears and hopes as news spreads about the boy's disappearance. Tom leaves quietly, returning to the island, where the other boys await. His comrades express their faith in his loyalty, and they resume their pirate adventure with a hearty breakfast and plans for the day. Chapter 16. The boys spend their days on the island, hunting for turtle eggs, swimming, and playing games like marbles and circus acts. As the fun fades, homesickness creeps in, leading Joe and Huckleberry to decide to leave the island, leaving Tom determined to stay. Tom reveals a secret plan to keep the group together, rekindling their spirits. The boys try smoking pipes, struggling with the harsh taste and discomfort, but feeling grown up and proud of their new skill. A fierce storm hits the island at night, driving the boys to seek shelter and challenge their resilience. After the storm, they dry off, rekindle the fire, and continue their adventures by pretending to be Indians, complete with painted bodies and war garments. They resolve their conflicts with a pipe of peace and enjoy a proud, jovial evening together. Chapter 17. The town falls into mourning as the families of Tom, Joe, and the Harpers grieve deeply. Even the children feel the weight of loss, as Becky Thatcher laments having no memento of Tom. At the funeral, the community reflects on the boys' lives, recognizing their goodness and talents they had previously overlooked. Just as the service reaches a peak of sorrow, the boys unexpectedly appear, alive and well, having secretly listened to their own funeral sermon from the church gallery. Their return brings immense joy and relief, especially for Aunt Polly and the Harpers. The congregation burst into triumphant hymn, celebrating the miraculous return, and Tom feels proud as the town warmly welcomes the boys back, showering them with love and affection. Chapter 18. Tom's secret plan was to return home with his friends and attend their own funerals, which was a great adventure for him. Aunt Polly expresses her mixed feelings about Tom's escapade, wishing he had shown more care, but understanding his spirited nature. At school, Tom becomes a hero, admired and envied by his peers, which feeds his pride. He distances himself from Becky Thatcher, who reacts with jealousy when she sees him with Amy Lawrence. Tom's conflicted feelings lead to tension, with Becky feeling hurt and vengeful, even resorting to sabotaging Tom's spelling book through Alfred Temple. Chapter 19. Tom returns home feeling gloomy, and his aunt scolds him for not warning the Harpers about their pirate adventure and for misleading her with a lie about a dream. Tom explains that he wanted to avoid spoiling the secret and that he came to reassure her they were safe. Moved by his confession and expressed love, Aunt Polly softens and asks for another kiss, forgiving him. She finds comfort in the note Tom left, choosing to believe in his good intentions despite her doubts. Chapter 20. Tom returns home in a bad mood and faces Aunt Polly's scolding for keeping his adventure a secret and causing unnecessary worry. Though he regrets his actions, he admits to wanting to keep the fun of their escapade alive. Aunt Polly forgives him, touched by his confession and love. At school, Tom approaches Becky to apologize, but she rejects him coldly. Their quarrel deepens, and Becky tears a picture from their teacher's anatomy book, which could lead to trouble for her. Tom refrains from telling on her initially, and a tension-filled day follows. Later, the teacher confronts the class about the torn book. Nobody admits guilt until Tom unexpectedly confesses to save Becky, earning her gratitude and admiration. He endures the punishment with pride, feeling the sacrifice was worth it. Chapter 21. As vacation approaches, the strict schoolmaster increases his severity to ensure a good performance on examination day. The school is filled with anticipation and tension, with dignitaries and parents attending the evening exercises. Students perform recitations, speeches, and readings, showcasing typical themes like friendship, dreams, and religious morality, often ending with lengthy sermons. The event includes poetry readings and original compositions, marked by elaborate language and moralizing tones. The seriousness is interrupted by a prank. A cat is lowered through a skylight onto the bald head of the teacher, causing laughter and bringing the meeting to a joyful end, signaling the start of a vacation. Chapter 22. During vacation, Tom joins the Cadets of Temperance, but quickly resigns due to disappointment. He experiences various entertainments, like minstrel shows, circuses, and parties, but finds little joy, especially with Becky Thatcher away. The secret of the murder weighs heavily on him, adding to his misery. Soon, Tom falls ill with measles and becomes a prisoner to the illness. Upon recovery, he finds the town transformed by a religious revival, which profoundly depresses him as he feels alone in his loss of faith. A violent storm heightens his sense of doom, but after it passes without calamity, he hopes for reprieve. However, he soon relapses and spends another long, lonely recovery period, struggling with feelings of isolation, even as the world moves on around him. Chapter 23. The trial of Muff Potter begins, dominating village conversation and causing Tom great anxiety. Tom and Huckleberry reaffirm their vows to keep silent about the murder. They regularly visit Potter in jail, providing small comforts and feeling deep sympathy for him. The courtroom is filled with tension as witnesses testify against Potter, while his lawyer surprisingly offers no defense. The prosecution rests, seemingly sealing Potter's fate. Unexpectedly, Tom is called to the stand. Nervous at first, he recounts the events of the murder in detail, describing how Injun Joe committed the crime. The revelation shocks everyone and causes Injun Joe to flee dramatically through a window, escaping justice. Chapter 24. After his courageous testimony, Tom becomes a village hero, celebrated in print and admired by all. However, his nights are filled with fear of Injun Joe's possible revenge, and Huckleberry shares this terror, despite a lawyer's promise of secrecy. Tom takes comfort in Muff Potter's gratitude, but remains haunted by his decision to speak out. The search for Injun Joe persists, with detectives and rewards, yet the elusive villain remains at large. Days pass slowly with lingering anxiety as Tom and Huckleberry live under the shadow of this unresolved threat. Chapter 25. Tom experiences a strong desire to find hidden treasure and recruits Huckleberry to join him. They discuss the nature of treasure, its typical hiding places, and make plans to dig in various spots, including haunted houses and under old trees. During the day, they dig unsuccessfully in searched locations and decide to try digging at midnight, guided by the shadow of a tree limb, but find nothing. The boys feel uneasy due to superstitions about witches, ghosts, and dead men guarding treasures. Despite their fears, they resolve to try the haunted house, acknowledging the dangers but rationalizing that daytime digging would be safer since ghosts are nocturnal. As they approach the dark, desolate house, they decide to avoid it for the night and go home. Their treasure hunt, full of suspense, fear, and misery. Chapter 26. The next day, Tom and Huckleberry revisit the dead tree to retrieve their tools. They realize it's Friday, an unlucky day for their treasure hunt, so they postpone plans for the haunted house and spend the afternoon playing Robin Hood. On Saturday, they dig at their last spot but find nothing. They then cautiously approach the haunted house at sunset, initially too scared to enter. Gathering courage, they explore its decayed interior, but freeze with fear upon hearing footsteps approaching. Two men, including Injun Joe, enter and discuss a dangerous job and their plans to leave town shortly. The men fall asleep, and Tom quietly tries to sneak away, but is scared off by a creaking floorboard. Injun Joe and his companion unearth a treasure chest containing thousands in gold coins, though Joe reveals the theft is part revenge. They plan to hide the loot until they're ready to flee. Tom and Huckleberry, witnessing these events, are filled with dread, especially as they fear the revenge might target them. Chapter 27. Tom wakes troubled by the previous day's adventure involving the hidden treasure, unsure if it was a dream or reality. He meets Huckleberry, who confirms the treasure was real but expresses despair over their lost chance due to the broken stairs. They discuss number two, which Tom suspects refers to a tavern room, and they discover a mysterious locked room numbered 2 in a local tavern, believed to be connected to the treasure. Tom devises a plan to gather keys and investigate the room at night, instructing Huckleberry to watch for Injun Joe, who might be spying for revenge. Despite their fears, both boys resolve to follow and confront Injun Joe's plans. Chapter 28. Tom and Huckleberry prepare for their night watch around the tavern, hoping to catch Injun Joe and find the hidden treasure. Several nights pass without incident until one evening Tom sneaks into the tavern's haunted room while Injun Joe lies asleep inside, intoxicated. Tom narrowly avoids waking him and escapes without finding the treasure. They realize the room is haunted not by ghosts, but by whiskey, making it too risky to try retrieving the treasure while Joe is there. They decide to watch nightly, waiting for a safer opportunity. The boys agree to a system of signals to alert each other if something happens, and Huckleberry commits to keeping watch all night, every night. Chapter 29. Tom's focus shifts to Becky Thatcher as Judge Thatcher's family returns to town. The long-awaited picnic is arranged, and the village's youth prepare eagerly. The children enjoy the picnic, followed by exploration of McDougall's cave, a vast and complex natural labyrinth known only in part to local youth. Meanwhile, Huckleberry watches vigilantly for Injun Joe. One night, he stealthily follows Injun Joe and an accomplice as they carry the treasure up Cardiff Hill toward the widow Douglas's home. Huckleberry fears they intend harm, but dare not intervene directly. He alerts the Welshman and his sons, who arms themselves and approach the sumac path quietly. A gunfight ensues, but Huckleberry flees swiftly before witnessing more. Chapter 30. At dawn, Huckleberry visits the Welshman and his sons, who recount their failed attempt to catch Injun Joe and his accomplice during a nighttime gunfight. They plan to involve the sheriff and organize a search party. Huckleberry nervously shares details of his secret surveillance, eventually revealing that the deaf and dumb Spaniard is actually Injun Joe, heightening the danger. Meanwhile, the village is consumed with concern, as Becky Thatcher and Tom remain missing after the picnic and cave exploration. An extensive search is launched, with hundreds of townsfolk combing the cave labyrinth relentlessly. Huckleberry falls ill from the strain, but is cared for by the widow Douglas. Despite rumors and faint hopes, no sign of the children is found. The discovery of liquor at the Temperance Tavern and its closure offer little consolation. Chapter 31. Tom and Becky delve deeper into McDougall's cave during the picnic, exploring its labyrinthine passages, and marveling at natural formations like stalactites and underground springs. They become lost, with their candles dwindling, increasing their fear and despair. They rest, share their last bit of wedding cake saved from the picnic, and hope for rescue. Hearing distant shouts, they attempt to follow but find no one, deepening their misery. In a daring move, Tom uses a kite line to explore side passages, but encounters Injun Joe, who flees upon hearing Tom shout. Despite fear, hunger forces them onward. Becky weakens, and Tom promises to stay by her side no matter what. Chapter 32. The village mourns the lost children, with public and private prayers offered, but eventually many give up hope. Suddenly, news arrives that Tom, Becky, and the others have been found. The town erupts in joyous celebration as the children return, hailed as heroes. Tom recounts their harrowing escape from the cave, including his discovery of a small daylight opening and how he led Becky to safety. They were rescued by men in a skiff and brought home. Despite the rescue, both children are bedridden for days, recovering. Tom visits the sick Huckleberry, learning that the man who terrorized them was found drowned near the ferry. Judge Thatcher reveals he has secured the cave with heavy iron sheathing and locks, intending to prevent future accidents. This revelation unsettles Tom, who realizes Injun Joe is still in the cave. Chapter 33. Tom and Huckleberry locate the treasure hidden in a snug cave beneath a cross-marked rock. They extract the chest, laden with coins, leaving behind weapons and other items used by robbers. They humorously plan to use the hiding spot for future orgies, fitting their bandit fantasies. After packing the treasure into bags, they safely transport it to the woodshed loft of the widow Douglas. Planning to hide it further, and share it with trusted friends. On their way, the Welshman offers to help haul their cargo to the widow's house, where they arrive, covered in cave grime. The widow greets them warmly and offers new clothes, providing comfort after their long adventure. Chapter 34. At the widow Douglas's party, honoring the Welshman and his sons, Huckleberry feels uncomfortable in the crowd and plans to sneak out, but Tom encourages him to stay. Sid reveals that Mr. Jones will disclose Huckleberry's role in tracking the robbers, which makes Huckleberry a target for attention. Mr. Jones publicly acknowledges Huckleberry's bravery, and the widow offers to educate and provide for him. Tom humorously claims Huckleberry is rich, then reveals the treasure they found and pours over $12,000 in coins onto the table, astonishing the guests. Tom recounts their adventure in detail, captivating the audience and overshadowing Mr. Jones's planned surprise. Chapter 35. Tom and Huckleberry's newfound wealth causes a stir in their village, with even serious men searching for hidden treasures in haunted houses. Their biographical sketches appear in the village paper, and their money is wisely invested by the widow Douglas and Judge Thatcher, giving them impressive incomes. Judge Thatcher admires Tom for his bravery, predicts a great future for him, and supports his education. Meanwhile, Huckleberry struggles with the constraints of civilization under the widow's care, longing for his former freedom. After 3 weeks, Huckleberry runs away, hiding out in an old hogshed where Tom finds him. Tom urges Huckleberry to return, but Huckleberry resists, claiming he cannot stand the regimented life. Tom reassures him and convinces him to give it another try, promising to support him.